Welcome to my views on news. Viewers, 1 month of Tigray, Ethiopia, Eritrea, a conflict is over. It was around 1 month ago when this conflict, third phase of Tigray, Ethiopia, Eritrea war started last month on the 24th of August. Now we are in a position to analyze this 1 month. What happened? What were TDF's objectives? What are TDF's objectives now? What were objectives of Ethiopian and Eritrean governments? Were these parties successful in achieving their objectives or not? Today I got some time. I thought of having an analytical look at this 1 month of Tigray, Ethiopia, Eritrea war. I think we can broadly divide this 1 month into two phases. First phase was the first week, first 10 days of this conflict, when Tigray forces launched an offensive from southern Tigray into Wollo. And after that, Tigray forces launched an offensive towards Wolkayth from two directions, from Sudan and from Mesabre. It was Tigray's stated position that if talks failed, it would use military means to take back western Tigray. So it wasn't a surprise for us. Talks were held before that, before this phase of the war in Seychelles, Djibouti. Talks failed. Tigray, then why did Tigray forces move in two directions, into Wollo and into Wolkayth? Of course, they wanted to use Wollo gains as a bargaining chip in talks. Had they succeeded in taking control of some territories in Wolkayth. Tigray forces made gains in Wollo. They managed to reach Woldia, Kobo, Koborobit, Gobi. They are close to Woldia. On Wolkayth front, they could not make any inroads. From Sudan side, from Mesabre, they could not make any inroads into Wolkayth. No gains so far. Then started the second phase of this conflict, third conflict. Ethiopian and Eritrean forces opened new fronts. One after another, they opened new fronts. And the purpose of opening these fronts was to push Tigray forces back into Tigray and to move towards Mekelle, Tigray's capital. ENDF opened Dadebut front. It crossed Takeze river. It tried to move towards Shirara road from Dadebut, from close to Takeze river. EDF and ENDF started Shiraro offensive. They launched an attack, a major offensive, ground offensive on Shiraro. Purpose was to put pressure upon TDF, which was trying to make inroads into Wolkayth. ENDF and EDF's Shiraro offensive partially succeeded. The two sides gained ground in Tigray's territories on Tigray-Eritrea border. Shiraro came under EDF-ENDF control. Dadebut offensive failed. ENDF could not take control of Dadebut. They suffered losses there. After that, we saw an offensive towards Abergele and towards Edi Erke. Abergele was retaken by Ethiopian National Defense Force, Amhara forces, on Tigray-Amhara border. Edi Erke was also retaken. Both are parts of Amhara region, but they were under the control of Tigray forces since last year. So here ENDF made gains, ENDF and Amhara forces. When I say ENDF, Amhara forces are part of these offensives launched by ENDF. Amhara forces are militias too. They took back Eritrea, they took back Abergele. And then came two major offensives which were planned for days. And which are the major offensives, because the purpose of these major offensives is to take control of Mekelle. One came from Eritrean side, that all along Eritrean border, we are seeing fighting from Eritrea, EDF and ENDF. They're trying to enter Tigray. They're trying to move towards Adegara, towards Brahma, towards Adwa, towards all major towns of Tigray. And second major offensive was launched just, I think, 3 days ago from a far side, which I spoke in detail about in last night's video, that from Birahle, Eritrean Defense Force, 67th Division, supported by Afar militias, Afar forces, is trying to reach Agula Wakro, to move towards Mekelle, to cut off A2 highway. These two last offensives from Eritrean border and from afar, they are meant to remove TPLF from power, to take control of Mekelle. So you see that first 7 to 10 days were marked by TDF advance into Wollo, unsuccessful offensive into Volkayt. Next 3 weeks were marked by offensives from ENDF, EDF side. They tried to counter TDF's offensive in Volkayt and they are now in a full-blown offensive mode to take control of Tigray, you can say, major towns of Tigray. How to sum up? On the one hand, we can say that Tigray's advances have been stalled. Tigray forces are not making any gains. For the last 2 weeks, we have not seen any major territorial gains by Tigray forces. They are completely in defensive mode. On the other hand, we can also say that despite the involvement of militaries of two countries, Ethiopia and Eritrea, the two militaries could not take control of large territories in Tigray so far. No major town of Tigray is under EDF, ENDF control so far. Now we know that it's not a secret now that ENDF and EDF, they want to take control of Tigray. From afar, offensive towards Mekelle is a large scale offensive. From Eritrea as well, full scale offensives. But Tigray forces are resisting on all fronts. Tigray in defensive modes on all fronts. On Wollo front as well, TDF is not advancing. It's near Gobi. For the last 2 weeks, it's in Gobi. It is defending its gains in Wollo. It's defending Tigray's territories. So, we can sum up that ENDF and EDF were hoping a quick advance into Tigray. But it is not happening. The two militaries could not swiftly advance into Tigray from Eritrea and from afar, though Afar offensive is a relatively new offensive, just 2 days ago it was launched. But from Eritrean side, they've been fighting for days to make inroads into Tigray. But so far, Tigray is holding ground, Tigray is resisting, Tigray forces are resisting. So 1 month, we cannot say that one side has considerable advantage at this point of time. Largely, you can say that still there is a stalemate. If Tigray's offensives into Volkayt and towards South Wollo have come to a halt, Tigray is successfully defending its territories. And fighting is still in border areas of Tigray-Eritrea border. overall there is still a stalemate. And if Tigray forces keep on resisting this offensive for a few weeks, we could see Tigray forces bounce back then. Once again, they'll start moving they'll start changing gears to go into offensive mode. Now they are in defensive mode, defending their territories. So I personally think that there is room for engagement, diplomatic engagement, because no side has any considerable leverage at this point of time now. Keeping aside their official claims, you'll keep on hearing from Tigray side that all Eritrean END offensives have failed. You would hear from Ethiopian government side that Mekelle was within reach. But Tigray Defense Force, Tigray regional government is proving to be a hard nut to crack, it seems. Even after Tigray cities coming under EDF control, if it happened, it wouldn't be possible for ENDF and EDF to take control of entire Tigray. So it's a grinding, slowly moving development, a conflict which cannot come to an end in a few days or a few weeks even. That is why I am saying that there is room for engagement, because no side succeeded in having convincing leverage over the other side. It means there is a stalemate, some sort of engagement can happen at this point of time. But that depends upon the parties. What do they think? Eritrea wants complete elimination of TPLF. So I don't think Eritrea would be in support of some diplomatic engagement. Ethiopian government is relying heavily on Eritrea. On a far front, there is just Eritrean military, maybe there could be a few ENDF soldiers, but mainly Eritrean military. From the north as well, mainly Eritrean military is leading operations. So Ethiopia is heavily relying on Eritrean defense force in this third phase of the war. That is why deciding power is with Eritrea, not with Ethiopia. Who will decide what to do next will be decided by both Eritrean and Ethiopian governments, but I think Eritrean government is more in control of decision making now. And Eritrean government wants continuation of this war until there is elimination of TPLF. That is why war could go on for some time, it seems. Thanks for watching.